My dad was now starting to get dementia, early signs of dementia, forgetting things very easily, one day walking out on me. I started eventually taking my dad to work. When I learned all the questions, they changed all the answers. And I think for me, that really told me, be prepared, be over-prepared.
Hey everybody, my name is Kris and this is the CAREpreneur Show. And we have a very special guest, Osvaldo Montelongo.
Yep.
I boosted that. Did I say that right?
Perfect. Yeah, let's get it. Montelongo in Spanish.
Montelongo. See, I don't have the accent that you have. However, at least I didn't butcher it that bad. But Osvaldo is the Chief Executive Officer of Connect Care Hero. And he's a founder with more than 10 years of experience in global brand marketing and strategy for companies like Disney, Oleum and GUM. And he's got 7 years of experience in senior living and aging at home. He loves learning new things and experiencing new culture through food and activities. And also, one thing you may not know is Osvaldo is he's a first generation Mexican and Mariachi and Huapango music fan. And he graduated from Trinity Christian College in Illinois. So, Osvaldo, welcome to the CAREpreneur Show. Thank you for joining me, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me. No, it's awesome.
Hopefully I got that intro right, so if not, Dre's gonna make us look good,
Huapango music, it's like, in my heart. So it's things that, I grew up with, so I love it.
Well, what I love, man, is you definitely are passionate about what you're doing. I'm excited for you to kind of like take us through this journey of you founding and bringing this new technology to the senior living space. It's super exciting. But where did that, I guess, entrepreneurial itch begin? Did you always know that you wanted to do your own thing? But at what point in time did you decide, hey, you know what? I'm ready to go pursue my dreams or create this new software like you guys have today?
Yeah, so I guess just for background for people listening is so Connect Care Hero is a organization I founded that helps organizations tackle social isolation and loneliness through culturally relevant programming. We bring a variety of highly curated, highly skilled entertainers, class vendors that basically teach a variety of classes like mariachi sessions, cooking shows, guided tours, a variety of things. And so I started Connect Care Hero essentially from an experience I had with my dad. Most people don't know, but my dad had me at 57 years old. And when I was in my early 20s, I had to move him into a nursing home, a senior living community. And at the time, I didn't know what dementia was, not something Latinos talk about where I grew up. So it wasn't part of our vocabulary and kind of knowing what the early signs were. So that's what kind of just got me in there into senior living, senior care.
What was it? What was it like being, a 20-year-old having to actually think about or even make decisions on behalf of your dad related to nursing home or assisted living? That just seems like what a big step to be making at such a young age,
Yeah, I think I kind of related to a lot of Latinos. I'm first generation, like you mentioned there, from Mexico, and so a lot of kids when they're 5 or 6 or 7, they're going to the doctors translating in English for their parents. That was me, and so I already knew early on that I had to take care of my dad. There's things about aging that I didn't really understand when I was going with him to the hospital and the doctor's visits, but it was a unique experience. I will say that much.
Yeah, I can imagine. I just, I know every time I think about it, helping families through this process, it's like, man, it can be complicated, it can be overwhelming, but I feel like a lot of that, what you went through obviously has led to where we're at today, right? was that a big foundation for Connect Care Hero?
Yeah, it was, but you asked a question earlier about did you know you're gonna be an entrepreneur? How did you feel? Where did that come from? I tell some people this story, but it started really young, honestly, and I didn't even know about it until looking back at it now. Came from Mexico. They're hard workers, try to make a better life for our family. And I remember at the time, my dad ended up getting me like this bike, but he said on one condition, me and my siblings a bike, like the banana seat bikes back in the 90s. And he said, you can get it as long as, you help me collect cans so we can pay for it, later on.
Right.
So, back in Nebraska, we collect cans and then, deposit them, get some money back. And then that'll be like our money we save. And
how
old was I then? I was probably, like 6 or 7, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it when people are like 6, 7, already like trying to figure out that next business venture. I was like 10 years old mowing lawns, so.
Yeah. I think it helps you, especially as you get into entrepreneurship, right? You're self-starter, you find opportunity, you figure out how you can make, a business run, collect money and whatnot. But yeah, it definitely got me early.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So like lead us into Connect Care Hero. Because I mean, obviously you've been, working with some big brands. I mean, you got a lot of just, like that kind of that corporate world, but like with very large brands on, I guess, the brand strategy side.
Yeah.
I guess when did that crossover lead to the Connect Care Hero?
Yeah. So when I started, I went to college out here in Chicago, Trinity Christian College, and then ended up landing a job at a global marketing company as an early, like an entry level marketing in a marketing role. And that got me to travel all over the world. So it got me to Latin America, got me to China, all these different places. But throughout that whole process, I remember my dad was now starting to get, at the time, dementia, early signs of dementia, forgetting things very easily, one day walking out on me. And so I started eventually taking my dad to work. And I'd taken my job, I luckily had an office that's faced the parking lot right in front of me. And so I would bring him to work some days without my boss really knowing. And I remember, one day he just like beeping, beep, beep, outside. And then my boss was like, who's beeping outside? And I was like, oh, sorry. I told my boss, I was like, it's my dad. I'm sorry. I had to bring him to work because, he's forgetting very easily. And I didn't know how to bring this up to her because, I was the sole caretaker for my dad at the time. And that was an experience because, you're having to juggle this, corporate job. And, I was, doing great things at the job. I was going up the ladder there. But then having to say, hey, I have an aging parent I need to take care of. And so for me, that really kind of clashed because they would send me to different places like China. They would send me to Argentina, Colombia, Mexico. And at the same time, I had to still be there for my dad in a way. And so that's kind of where things started clashing. I was like, I can't keep up this corporate world life without, without having to sacrifice my dad's well-being.
Wow. It's a lot because I'm thinking a lot of times too, just, that there's more and more people that I've like heard stories of that are in their like 20s, and they become like a family caregiver for their mom or their dad or a loved one in their life.
Yep.
And I can't even imagine because it's at almost a pivotal point in people's like lives where they're kind of, pursuing that career, that what could be that career down the road. And then to all of a sudden have to like shift gears or even question, your own future because, you have to take care of your dad,
Yep. Yeah. It was a tough decision because at the end of the day, looking back at it, I go back to the reason why my family came to the US. It's like better life, better opportunities. And I got that was accomplished. But then now switching gears to like, hey, using my strategic global experience to be like, let me build a company around, the aging need for, people like my dad, right? Didn't speak any English, needed programming that was more specific to him to speak to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Was there a specific event or thing that made you think of Connect Care Hero the way it is today? And is the version that exists today even the same one that you started with?
Yeah, good question. I think there was one moment I remember that it made me realize, man, there's something needs to be done about this. So I moved my dad into a community. He's been there probably by now 6 months in a skilled nursing facility and low income, diversity focused. And I remember walking in one day and I remember moving my dad to this community because there's a little more, there's more Latinos in the area. but that didn't mean that his community was going to have more Latinos. There's actually maybe 5 that were in the dining room most of the time. And I remember walking in one day and seeing him in the corner, but very depressed, very lonely, very isolated. And I asked him, I was like, "Hey, Dad, what's going on? What can I do?" And he said, "Well, there's nothing for me to do here. I've been stuck here all day, and just basically dying inside." That's what he was telling me in Spanish. And I told him, "Well, what should, do you want me to do tamales, or what do you want me to do?" And so that kind of got me the first initiative, Connect Your Hero, which was like, I brought in tamale making stuff to make tamales with his couple friends he had there. And I still have pictures of it, and it's actually an amazing, picture, because you actually see him kind of mixing the masa. It kind of brought him back to the days in Mexico, and not only him but his friends. And my dad he forgot my name every once in a while, but I remember him and his friends after that session. I was like, "Hey guys, I want to take these tamales," and tamales, FYI, were like terrible. Like they're like not well done, but they thought they did good. So I took them with me, and for the next couple of days, they would be like, "Hey, when are you bringing those tamales back? Are they ready?" And that was the initial start of Connect Your Hero, which was in person. As we kind of move to where we're at now, all our programming is live virtually. So older adults can socially engage, chat, make community. And that's kind of our key pillars, is doing virtual first when it comes to programming.
In that moment, like when you realize that experience had such an impact on them, is that the moment that you were like, "I'm going to go pursue this," like in the form of like Care Hero the way it is today?
Yeah. So that was kind of the initial thought. I kind of thought to myself, like, they're doing a lot of bingo. They're doing a lot of stuff that, my dad would not even, really engage with. And so that was the initial thought. So when I first started, I said, "Hey, I talked to a lot of the activities department team members and the staff. And I said, if I built this type of product, would you guys use it?" And I probably reached out to probably 100 at the time, and kind of validated the idea. And then initially just got the first version of Connect Your Hero ready to go, which basically enabled caregivers, the staff members, to document what's going on through a social perspective, activities perspective. Because I couldn't bring in tamales every single day, but I could help them kind of document what they're happening and streamline that communication process.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Love how, like, maybe at the time what probably felt like a very tough and difficult, time frame in life, just, having to make a big decision, focusing your attention and making sure your dad is taken care of. And then just seeing like what you've built that into today,
Yeah. It's definitely, very, my dad would definitely be proud. I think, obviously at the time he even knew that. There's even pictures of me showing him, "Hey Dad, here's the first wireframes of Connect Your Hero. What do you think?" And it was just an awesome moment to capture, because, even though, this is back in 2016, he ended up passing in 2018. It was one of those moments, like, we were able to use it a little bit on him, which is kind of, another plus for kind of building this company.
Sure. And there's one thing I love about the senior care entrepreneurs space, is it definitely seems like there's this moment where a personal connection in the industry or the field or something happens that like really then becomes the driving force behind what they're doing,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a very positive thing. I think that helps drive a lot of call it mission-driven companies, right? And organizations, don't always look at I would call it the bottom line, right? Sometimes when we come from corporate, it was all about bottom line, how much profit you can make. But I think when you come to the senior care industry, you have to have different bottom lines, and one of them being the well-being of the resident, but also the families.
Sure. When what did it look like when you first started out? Because I mean, I know you got yourself a pretty solid team, and a lot of times that journey when people are first starting, it's like they don't know where to start. Like, did you already have other people in mind to bring onto your team? Did you already have ideas for like maybe how you might fund that initial project? Like, were there things that in your mind when you're like, "Hey, let's get started with this"? Like, I got the wireframing guy, I got the coding guy, I got the marketing person, let me go put us together? Or was it a longer journey than that?
I would say it was maybe a little longer journey than most. I think when I first started, I knew that I already, confessed to myself, like, I don't have all the resources. I don't know everything about technology. So I had to basically, find friends and, people that I knew that would help me out. And so it was really building that initial friends and family network of support that would get me to that first initial, what they call in the, entrepreneur space, MVP, right?
Right.
And getting started there, finding funding was, not easy. I think early on it was more like, hey, I have this idea, and really started for me reaching out to very close friends and family that saw firsthand what I was experiencing, knew that I had a very strategic mindset when it coming to making a business run, and so
Sure.
I kind of gathered them together, and together we kind of started the first version of Connect Your Hero.
Awesome, man. Is like, at what point in time, I guess, did you feel comfortable or making that next step of bringing on a larger team? Was there a connection you made with a specific person that kind of helped you?
When it came to bringing my first full-time co-founders, or my a strategic CTO that would develop the product even further where it was at, to finding a CEO, CMO that basically helped me run the content, the operations as well. It came at a point that we had some customers now. We knew that there customers are willing to pay for what we're doing, but it wasn't really until we got some funding to really get going, and so we started building the product much faster. A lot of us were working on this part-time, a side hustle for the first probably year and a half, and then we started going more full-time. And so now we are funded, and so we do have a larger team, and it's definitely running much smoother that way.
Right. So that's the one thing about the entrepreneurial journey, man. It always starts with that one person, that founder that's like doing all 50 jobs, and it's making that transition to actually putting a team together to kind of relieve you of having to do everything,
Yeah, no, the first time, the main founder, right? You're doing everything, like you mentioned, many hats, customer service, you're doing sales, you're doing, anything between wireframes, on napkins.
Right.
And it definitely, little by little, you start growing there.
That's awesome. When you think about, like, just for those that may not know, your ultimate target audience from a sales standpoint is like senior living, nursing home, like those types of communities, and then the person that you're actually serving or providing this solution to really comes down to like the residents and the seniors that live in those locations, right?
Yep, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, we service. We license our product to organizations such as senior living communities, home health organizations, and any organization that serves older adults. And then the end benefiter, the one that enjoys the programming, is the older adult, the senior.
And where do you foresee you guys being in that 2 to 5 year range and 5 to 10 year range? Do you have a vision for what that future looks like and what Connect Care Hero looks like?
Yeah, I think for us it's pretty simple. So we want to be the leading provider when it comes to content, culturally relevant content for older adults, but driven through data. And so that's a big initiative for us. We want to be we want to help organizations really tackle social isolation at its core, and it's by detecting early signs of someone that may be at risk for social isolation. But the way we engage our older adults or seniors is by providing very culture relevant content. So we really want to be at the forefront of that. And we kind of always staple ourselves as kind of saying we're bringing the master class for the 65 plus when it comes to live programming, where they can enjoy and really socialize.
That's awesome, man. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Well, in your mind, what do you what is success like? Is there a moment in time where, when it comes to Connect Care Hero, where you've reached a certain point where you're like, hey, you know what? We're successful. Do you have a milestone that like you're looking across before that you feel like you've made it?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and there's different ways to answer for us. I think one could be like, hey, building the largest content platform out there, live content. Yep. But where I really see it, and sticking again to that where I think we're going to be winning and where we see ourselves as winning, is that being able to engage, older adults like my dad, right, with programming that is relevant for them, and helping organizations let them know, hey, you may want to take a look at Mr. Abraham, Mr. Montelongo, which is my dad, weeks, if not months before they actually, have potentially an issue with them. And so for us, being able to do that is going to be for us winning. If it's one older adult, great. If it's millions, even better.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Exciting stuff. What do you think is like your like best skill set as an entrepreneur? Like what do you find like being the area that you focus on that works the best for being productive in the organization?
Yeah, so I think for me, I learned this from my corporate days, is that just being able to tell great stories is one thing I always strive to do time and time again. But not only that, is just the ability to network and build relationships with people over time, I think is another quality that I think I like to do a lot. And so those are the two big ones for me.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I think that's always important, building relationships, whether it's, with your team or with, your those that are maybe investing in the company or potential partners and all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome, man. Well, if ideally, like one of my personal goals is to try to like inspire and bring other people into this field that may not have they may have never considered senior living or senior care or the senior care industry being something they wanted to pursue. And like, how do you create an environment that is attractive, that maybe excites people or gets them interested in a field that they maybe never thought they would ever be a part of? Yeah,
so I think for anyone that's interested in this space, I think it's such a exciting place to be in now. There's more and more resources and organizations moving into it. Senior care is over a $700 billion market. There's a lot of room for disruption, and I think what is very consistent in this space is that there's not a lot of technology. A lot of systems are outdated. There's inefficient processes, and in some cases they haven't changed for decades. And so I think anyone that's looking to get into it, I always recommend starting niche. Right? Don't try to solve everything. I think that's a mistake. I think a lot of small businesses or entrepreneurs try to solve a little bit of everything.
That's because we're all like, we get distracted by the squirrel,
Yeah, no, I mean, which is good, I think, but just having focus is for us really good, because at the end of the day, unless you have deep pockets, right, yeah, test everything. But if you're early stage entrepreneur, you're trying to make a name for yourself, is definitely start niche and then build from there. And I think the other thing is too, like, find your champion partners, right? Organizations, customers that will help you drive innovation within the space. From the ground up, because they're the groups that are going to implement the technology, drive it within their workforce and whatnot. And I think that's also two key things I always recommend people to do. But it's a space for innovation right now.
Yeah. Is there a favorite mentor that you have, or maybe a favorite book that you enjoy that as an entrepreneur that has been helpful to you?
There's, from a mentor standpoint, there's many, obviously, in the past decade that I've encountered, but I always reference one, and this is one of my old bosses at my global marketing role, Oral Care. He said this quote that honestly stuck with me. This is my first year at the company, and I was there for probably 7 or 8 years. He said, when I learned all the questions, they changed all the answers. And I think for me, that really told me, be prepared, be over-prepared, right? You're going to have so many things, curveballs thrown at you. make sure you're fully prepared in every single aspect that you may encounter. And I think for me, that was such a powerful, statement he said that, again, sticks to me till this day.
That's in your mind. Has there been examples of that as you pursued?
I mean, I'll give you two examples. One is in my corporate days. I was working as a global marketing manager in Latin America, and when I was fully prepared for this licensing deal, then I get ready to present. Everything gets changed, and I'm like, oh no, then you fall on your face flat. And so that was one example. I was like, okay, that no more of that. Got to take that quote to heart. And the other one is like, in senior living, you think all the answers, especially from a family's perspective, right? And you have to for me, I had to really figure out like, hey, I have all the answers for the families and what I need as a caregiver, family caregiver, having a loved one in a skilled nursing facility. But I really didn't know, all the verbiage and words and the business side, the operation sides when it comes to running a skilled nursing facility, for example, and so for me, coming in that first year, I really didn't know how to sell. And I think that really got me geared up to kind of like learn everything about both sides to really, sell an effective, solution.
Sure. Absolutely. It's important. For sure. I mean, I know it's like us, like, when we think about serving our residents as we kind of explored and ventured out into the adult daycare space, it's like trying to have an understanding of what are the families going through, and is this solution we're providing, like, is it in alignment to meet their needs,
Yeah.
So
and I think you have
always changing.
Exactly. You always have it. And I think the more an organization, such as your guys' can align to the families, it's going to be a win-win. I think families sometimes require the basic, needs being met, but sometimes it's the intangibles that, it's hard for organizations to provide.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you joining me today, man. Thanks for sharing your story, and I love what you guys are doing. And if you haven't already, make sure you go check out Osvaldo and his incredible team at Connect Care Hero. I'm sure we'll have all their information below, and you can find them in the description somewhere. And we'll, Osvaldo, thank you.
Yeah, no,
really
thanks.
Appreciate it, man. You guys are doing an amazing thing for our seniors, and I'm just even grateful to be a part of what you guys are doing, man. Because we actually use their service for our adult daycare center, and it's incredible. I know it's just the beginning, but
yeah, no,
they have an exciting future ahead.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome, bro. You take care, man.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for making it this far. If you'd like to watch last week's episode, click here. If you'd like to watch more exciting content on senior care, click here. If you'd like to learn how to open up your own adult daycare, assisted living, or home care agency, click here, krischanna.com. This is for all those senior care entrepreneurs out there. And let's get back to work.